Thank you for joining us on this episode of KTN Mid-Morning. My name is Koi. Now, I know that our Muslim viewers enjoyed their blessed festival this weekend, Eid al-Fitr, also referred to as Eid. Now, Eid marks the end of Ramadan, which is the holy month of fasting. It is a time when the Muslim community stays away from worldly desires and focuses entirely on the Lord and thank Him for His blessings. It's a rejuvenation of the religion and it creates a stronger bond between the Muslim and his Lord. Eid ul-Adha is another holy festival celebrated after the journey to Mecca, better known as Hajj. Now, this celebration takes about 3 days and it commemorates the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son Ismail as an act of obedience to Allah. Now, moving away from the holy festival, this week we'll turn back to fashion, where we'll get a taste of the Ethiopian culture, have a one-on-one with a model who opened an agency, and finish off with a recent event which took place earlier this month. It's going to be a very exciting week, but first, let's talk to a young man who's found himself a niche in the art of customizing clothes. That's coming up next on Mid-Morning Lifestyle.
Today we let out of the box an artist whose expression on his choice of canvas literally just comes together. Luanda Jawar is a t-shirt designer with basic tools of trade: paint, brushes, and well, a few odd ones like a mason's ruler and toothbrush. His style, matrism, he calls it.
It's a kind of a crazy idea. So someone looks at it, gets an impression like he wants to do something more on the artwork, or he gets an impression that, like, very many people they've asked me this question, like, is it finished?
Well, but that isn't really the interesting part. This work literally comes together, no sketches, nothing. He creates as he goes.
The more I work, the more progress I get. And actually, whenever I do a mistake, I usually tell myself, to an artist, every mistake is a new design. So from that mistake, I try and create something out of it.
Of course, with some basic understanding of what should go where. It's fun to watch him choose the specific colors and where to put them. You can actually see it formulate in his head as he goes. Most of his designs are freehand, and making sure all detail is retained is probably his biggest challenge.
Anything can happen. My brush might escape a little bit and it goes where I didn't want it to go. So from there now, I have to make sure that I turn that mistake into something else, to make it look a bit like something that the artist wanted it to be there. Yeah. So actually it's about being very keen and risking.
This piece looks just about finished, at least to me, but well, not for Luanda.
Yeah, I know what I'll do.
T-shirts are definitely his most favorite to work with, but once in a while.
I've never done it before, but since I like doing different things for myself, I came up with a funny shoe design. Actually, just like the craziness in the shoe.
T-shirt designs by Luanda, definitely something else. Beautiful, never really that complete, constant works in progress. And he actually proves me right. After this interview, he's struck by another idea. Well, this one's done for now, I think.
Urban Phunk started as a small outfit making convenient bags, but it is fast becoming a fashion powerhouse. Now, after seeing that their bags were being very well received in the market, Alvin and Joel, who are the brains and the creativity behind the brand, decided to diversify to the clothing business, which specializes in casual wear. However, today's glamour feature takes you back to when they began with their funky bags. Check it out.
From very humble beginnings, Alvin May, a graduate from Egerton University, has scratched away a customized bag fashion business from note. To describe Alvin May well, you probably have to use the old adage, life is not measured by how long one has been in business, but by their accomplishments. His background is astounding, a story that concludes with a young entrepreneur owning a design company bearing a popular label, Urban Phunk.
I started doing it when I was in college, but then that time I didn't have a lot of time. You know, you have to go to school, you have to study, and the time in between. So much of what I was doing was making accessories. You know, carving stuff for the neck, carving people's names, and all that. Plus a few printing of T-shirts here and there. Apart from just doing that for fun, I was earning money to, you know, run my pocket money and make things here and there.
After pursuing a sociology and literature course at Egerton University, having partnered with 3 colleagues and formed a crack outfit in Kisumu, 2 years later he veered off to initiate his own company dubbed Urban Phunk.
For the group, things were not going the way I'd envisioned. So personally, I thought I'd rather take the risks and go, you know, with my vision.
At Egerton University, having partnered with 3 colleagues and formed a crack outfit in Kisumu, 2 years later, he veered off to initiate his own company dubbed Urban Phunk.
People get bags, you know, they go to the supermarket, they get the synthetic and a bit of that, and most, especially the young generation, were not really, you know, caught up by that. So I discovered I could customize, I could make them funkier.
To beat competition and boost popularity of his products in the market, Alvin has cleverly carved a niche market composed of ladies of all ages.
We focus greatly on the artwork on the bags. That is basically the design. Then the other bit is the finishing on the bags. Some of our bags for the ladies. Initially they're complaining, you know, like when you put just a normal fabric strap, it kind of hurts, you know, the shoulder when you carry a lot of things. So after doing research, we discovered we could get padded straps. So with the padded straps, it makes them more comfortable. Apart from comfortable, it looks more stylish.
To enhance quality and a steady demand of his products, Alvin samples 5 trial pieces of a new design into the market, and once it's accepted, he perfects them and produces more as per the demand.
One of the big bags, you know, the one that has a logo, it was inspired by a lot of people complaining, you know, especially the women, carrying plastic, polythene, you know. I'm all dressed up in office-like and I'm carrying a plastic. It just looks off.
His ups and downs range from maintaining his space of creativity and imitation of his products by pirates.
A lot of people wait for you to work hard, create the concept. When you put in the street, before you can make some good money out of it, it has been pinched, you know. So, but we try to work it every day by trying to be continuously ahead of the market.
His ups and downs range from maintaining his space of creativity and imitation of his products by pirates. From the cheerful entrepreneur's humble beginnings, this company is in its own business class. Returns are encouraging, but his vision remains to be his drive.
In the next 2 years, I see us having penetrated beyond Kenya into the East African markets.
Just as with the war with the ownership of the Kikoi brand, Alvin believes that his efforts to have an original product will have its place in the world market.
If you thought that the discussion on maternal health is over, then you're wrong, because up next we pick up the discussion from last week on the Phillips Roundtable Special Edition.
Now, I would like to bring in our audience now. We have midwives among us. We have, of course, doctors who are the point of contact with mothers. We also have mothers here to just share with us the experiences out there that are putting women in danger when they are giving life.
Apart from now sending our community health workers in the community to check on who is bleeding after delivery, we need someone who follows up to see what happens in the village. Those mothers who are hard to reach, what are we doing about it? Because mothers are still dying. We feel so bad when a mother is referred to a facility and there's nothing we can do. The mother is bleeding profusely, complications of blood pressure, eclampsia, and there are things we need where we think could have been monitored early from the beginning. So those mothers who are hard to reach, what is the government doing about it?
Next question, please.
What measures are we putting in place to attract and retain these midwives in the rural areas, in the urban areas, in the facilities where we need them most?
My challenge is to the ministry and Phillips. In this era of globalization, there's a lot of teleconferencing. So I'm thinking in terms of to the personnel in the district, I think in Kenya we have a tendency where we always pull the personnel and bring them to the urban areas for training. I'm thinking going forward, why don't we have a system where we can teleconference and that way we're doing online teaching where the personnel are.
My question goes directly to Dr. Kiara. It's about awareness. I think when you opened, you said about awareness to the mothers. What about the fathers?
We have, I think, 2 university representatives, and I think Aga Khan Hospital and the University of Nairobi need to make significant inroads into training, I think, obstetricians who will then supervise the health workers who will be on the ground. So I would like to hear, what has been done so far in terms of planning, because task shifting is a short-term goal and is going to solve short-term problems. What is the long-term goal of your training agenda?
All right. A number of questions that were directed to you, Dr. Sharif. Mothers are not empowered. What are you doing about it?
Now, if you look at MDG, it's number 1 is reduce poverty, right? Okay, so it's not a question of health people reducing poverty. We have no business reducing poverty, but we have an interest. In the end, it ends up as a health problem. So it's not a health problem, but we end up with those consequences. So the issue is we have to make sure that this multi-sectoral approach is there. Now, we started off with this program, and it's working quite successfully, and it is called output-based approach, right? Where women who have been identified as poor are given a voucher, right? They buy the voucher for about 100 shillings, right? And they can access healthcare at any facility which they like, and then they're reimbursed. The facility is reimbursed, right? Now, unfortunately, the funding wasn't enough, so we have only managed to do it in about 5 districts, and our plan is to make sure that it rolls out to the whole country, right?
Dr. Kihara, and we're still talking about empowerment of women. You are challenged about, what about the fathers?
Yes, in fact, I was very happy with the question that you brought about the fathers. We are a patriarchal society in Kenya. So we have the socio-cultural bump, so to speak, that we must address. But that notwithstanding, the Constitution is very nice, because even now they're advocating for responsible parenthood, where they're recognizing there is need to have the father and mother both engaged to bring up children. So I applaud it 100%. Male involvement will actually enhance women's access, if not even facilitate the decision-making that's required for her to seek service.
On the same note, encourage fathers to even be there when their wives are getting the babies. But then we also have to address the male issue, which is men know how to be in control of situations. Now, labor and birth, the process in itself is not friendly where control is concerned. So it's more like orientate the man to what the process is going to be and give him cues on some of the things he can be in control of during the process. But you find that where men are involved, women actually carry the pregnancy even better. They are better mothers, they breastfeed better, because the woman tends to feel there's a supervisor to this whole process. While I'm still on it, let me answer the question from Sarah. A very common availability is a mobile phone, which we have ignored. If we can talk to the mobile facilitators and get a hotline to a clinic nearby and advise a woman, if in case you have any doubts or you have a question, SMS to this mobile number or ask please call me, yeah? And you call back the woman to find out what's happening to you and how can we help you.
There was a question regarding teleconferencing. And I would like to put this question to Peter from Phillips. What's your comment on that? Using teleconferencing for training, not just for the healthcare workers, but also for mothers.
Teleconferencing, obviously, universities in Kenya also have on their own option. They can take the initiative to reach out to universities elsewhere in the world. And as Phillips, we can mediate if that is a requirement. But some initiative, self-starting initiative, to engage with other members of the community outside Kenya would, I think, also be a good start to make these kind of things possible. So, again, facilities are there, also within Phillips. The big question is how to bring it to the people that really require it.
How do they bring this technology to the people, Dr. Sheriff?
We have actually worked with some of these programs. We are trying it out. And the other one is telemedicine. And we are in discussions with several organizations. Because for telemedicine, you need a little bit more of infrastructure. But e-learning is not really that much. So, and it is, I think, now a learning requirement for all health professionals that they must have CPD, continuous professional development, of at least 40 hours in a year.
All right, so beyond training them, there was a question about what measures you're taking to attract and retain midwives, and I believe that this is something that also, cuts across the medical healthcare professionals. It is not just the midwives, we also need doctors, we need the specialists, the obstetricians and gynecologists.
It's easy to get somebody to work in an urban area, but to get them out in the extreme hardship area. And the government introduced the hardship allowance and extraneous allowance based on where they work. Let's see if that works, because if you are in extreme hardship area, you get more allowances. So that's been implemented in January this year.
Very well. It sounds like we're already having solutions here. So just as we wind up, I would like our panelists to just give us 2 or 3 points, way forward. What can be done to meet the 4th and the 5th Millennium Development Goals? How can we have the deaths of these mothers, these babies, and if possible, how can we eradicate them in this country? Dr. Ann Kihara, we can start.
I think I'll start from data. We have a lot of data, but are we utilizing the data to improve our services? It begs for clinical audit, it begs for monitoring and evaluation, it begs even for more research in this regard. We're talking about accelerating MDG 4 and 5 by 2015. I don't think this can happen without integrating the various disciplines. Ministry of Health as a backbone, the Kenya Obstetrics and Gynae Society, the universities, the Kenya Pediatric Society. We have to have integrated multidisciplinary approach. Leadership is the other issue. And that also begs leadership from political goodwill. Without that, we will never get anywhere.
Very well. And of course, Peter, you've shown a lot of passion in, dealing with issues of maternal and child health at Phillips. And for that reason, we're having this forum. What can you propose as the way forward from the discussion that we have had here this day?
We are really passionate about healthcare. I've heard several times, can Phillips do something about the price of the equipment to make it affordable to us? And actually, I would like to make a little challenge on equipment being expensive. the majority of the money spent is actually on staffing and on pharmaceuticals in a healthcare infrastructure. Next to that, what is the cost of equipment? The cost of equipment is not only the purchase price of the initial piece of equipment. It is also the total running cost. And for instance, the device that I talked to you about earlier that we have now brought to Kenya is, for instance, 60% energy saving compared to previous devices. In the running of that equipment, that is a cost saving that is never calculated when people are talking about the purchase price of equipment. I believe that as industry and healthcare providers, governments, we should get much more even engaged and work together and discuss what are the requirements and also be able then to provide the equipment that is really geared to the requirements, the clinical requirements of a specific country. I believe that the tools are there, the equipment is there. We need to find a way to make it possible to make that equipment available to the complete country, including the rural areas, and also there with healthcare IT, infrastructural solutions. It is possible to bring care also to the rural areas and to make the facilities available there as well.
Very well put. Lucy, of course, this is something that as a midwife, there's so much you can say how you can help a mother and a child to survive. But just 2 or 3 points that you think are the most critical that should be done to ensure that mothers and children are kept alive.
Okay. First, birth in itself is a family-oriented affair. I think it's time that we went back to what we were doing before, but in this case, do it different. Have a skilled personnel attending the birth, but have and enable the skilled personnel to be able to refer in case there's an issue. And then, of course, we need to look at the simple resources we have. I am a bit passionate about TBAs. They do very good stuff, some of them, and they're skilled. It's probably look at them in a different way, see what can we empower them to do and how can we supervise what they're doing as opposed to just, wiping them out. But if we have people in the community who are trusted, because these TBAs are really trusted by the women in the community, what we can do is look for ways to empower them.
Dr. Yamal.
Let's have more education of the public on these facilities, on the antenatal care, on the birthing process, and on the fact that yes, they do need to go and have some skilled assistance, at least during some time of the course of the pregnancy. There is nothing wrong with deliveries at home if we have the right supervision there, and if we have the right people to supervise that and who know when to refer or when to now know that this is a point where I need an expert opinion now. And finally, preventive is definitely better than curative. So we need to now get into the fact that we need to know which pregnancies are heading towards disaster. It's not that difficult to pick out the pregnancies that are heading towards a disaster. And if you pick them up earlier, you will prevent the disaster.
Well, Dr. Sharif, today you are taking all the heat on behalf of government. We are always asking tunaomba serikali. So just your closing remarks.
Let's look at it from a positive point of view, right? If you look at under 5 mortality, it has reduced, right? And if we just accelerate a little bit, I think we'll be on target in terms of getting to the MDG target for 2015. All we have to do is tackle 2 things on. We have had tremendous success in malaria. We have had tremendous success in reducing admissions due to malaria and deaths. Now the common cause of deaths now, as I said, was diarrhea and pneumonia. So if we just manage to make sure that no child dies of diarrheal diseases or pneumonia. We got the pneumococcal vaccine last year, right? So we hope it will reduce. We're planning to introduce the rotavirus vaccine next year. That will make a difference in deaths. But the thing is, we also have to make sure that people know how to get ORS solutions and zinc, because that's something which will, it's easy to go make available. For maternal health, it may be a little bit slow, right? But coming back to what I said about making progress in reducing under 5 mortality. See, the issue is progress is not success, right? So maybe progress. In the end, we'll just be measured, are we successful or not? Nobody looks at progress. How do you monitor progress? You train this person, you got this. It's not, you have to be successful. So you don't have a challenge, I have a job to keep, right? And I'll be measured on getting MDGs by 2015. So the thing is, I cannot explain that, I'm making progress. It is success. And we want to go for success in terms of both the reducing child mortality and maternal mortality.
And on that point, we have come to the end of Saving Mother and Child. We would like to thank all our panelists for participating. You have kept the debate alive, and I believe that we have come up with very important points that can direct the way forward. Thank you very much for making this a success. And to our audience, thank you very much for participating. And to the audience at home, thank you for being part of Saving Mother and Child. Until next time, my name is Anso Mwendia.
If you buy items that could use a bit of tweaking, then customizing them may be the best option. Do send us your comments to midmorning@standardmedia.co.ke, or better yet, go to our Facebook page, KTN Midmorning, like it and drop in a comment. We would love to hear from you. That's all we have for you today. Do enjoy the rest of your day.